Fonts. There's a gazillion of them, even if some of us just stick to the basics, like Times New Roman or Helvetica. Me? Well, you can probably tell that I'm more of an Arial man. Well, our want of font is actually a big business. So Alie Ward went on a quest for the better letter.
This is Andy Cruz of House Industries, and he, along with the creative crew at this Delaware design house, give personality to the letters of the alphabet and their numerical cousins. They create imaginative typefaces and fonts and apply them to surfaces. Custom, one-of-a-kind letters and numbers that stand alone as art, or can be used on clothing, signs, blocks, and so much more. In this way, House Industries has made its mark and is in the creative vanguard of modern design.
I like to think of House as almost like a band where we use alphabets, numbers, letters as our instruments.
Like musical instruments, Andy says that fonts are tools to help words tell a story. And his own story begins with hot rods.
I had the good fortune to grow up in a household where my father was always working on cars. He taught me about hot rodding at a very young age. Growing up in an environment where art and science kind of were just mashed together, that was sort of my informal, but probably the most important part of my design education.
Andy also learned that in written form, letters can be given character, edge. Inspired by greats like the late Ed Big Daddy Roth of Ratfink fame and Charles and Ray Eames, House Industries designs have been commissioned by top record labels, musicians, television stars, and high-end fashion houses. I went to Yorkland, Delaware to meet the brains behind the brushstrokes. In this house, symbols become design, elevated from instruments to art.
How do you evoke emotion and subtext with just a design?
That's sort of the hardest part of the dance. You want these things to work as a system, but at the same time, we can't lose sight of what attracted us in the first place, the soul, that human hand, those inconsistencies, the things that actually give it life.
It's that human element that makes House distinct. Ken Barber is a letter and typeface designer here.
Walk me through how you design typeface.
So people will approach designing a typeface in different ways depending upon what kind of typeface it is. In this case, in order to give a little bit of dimension to the actual strokes of the letter form, I started with a carpenter's pencil.
Now, when you're freehanding these, do you have to kind of keep the spirit of the typeface in mind?
Absolutely, and you also have to think about how the letters are actually going to relate to one another. For example, in Innovation Nation, you have two N's. A person writing that would never write those two letters exactly the same way.
What's the difference between a typeface and a font?
A typeface is the general overall style of the letter. The font would be the individual expression of that. So if most people are familiar with Helvetica, for example, Helvetica is the typeface, but Helvetica Bold is a font.
Whether conveying whimsy, punk, or calligraphic elegance, there is precision in every stroke. And the House Industries gallery reflects their clean design aesthetic and displays the diverse nature of their work.
We go from like Lucky Charms to the New Yorker and a lot of places in between.
So you make them, you sell them, and then they would just disperse like seeds in the wind.
While collaborating with some of the most iconic names in the design world, in the process, House Industries is also becoming one.